Welcome to Quantum Economics Part 2. A short time ago, we published Quantum Economics Part 1. It said that quantum mechanics was rewriting our reality. Now, quantum mechanics invalidates many of our perceptions, from the perception of big objects as being stable to the models we use to manage and predict our existence. From the time we were hunter-gatherers chucking spears at beasties on the plains, to discovering continents with compasses and writing Euclidean geometry, we have encoded big objects into our mental chips to the point that we can envisage little else. This comfortable cosmic order is now being torn apart. Big things only appear to comply with our classical laws, but they are composed of small things that do not. The small things, subatomic particles in particular, are part of the magic, contradictory, and mind-bending quantum world. This raises issues about how and why things happen. Free will, rational choice, and history itself all become uncertainties. Predeterminism becomes feasible for the cosmos and everything in it. So do multi-universes and multi-time frames. This is no scientific fiction, but serious science of maths, measurement, observations, and evidence. So the concrete building blocks of economic policy, the choices of policy, economics itself, and market models based on free will and rationality are themselves questionable. Economics is in the crosshairs. Historical data and historical relations are what economics is made up of. These are doubtful predictors and even doubtful describers of history. We must ask ourselves why economics never, hardly ever, predicts things that matter, by which I do not mean the next 25 basis points moved by the Fed. I mean things like dot-com bubbles, property bubbles, sovereign debt, and credit crises, and even the economic consequences of COVID itself. The answer is because in all crises, historical continuity breaks down. So what use are models based on history? There were many responses to Quantum Economics Part 1, but a common theme was, well, you want to replace our economic and market models, but with what? Certainly not with the maths and science of quantum mechanics, at least not yet. But perhaps to inject some of the creative and disjointed way of thinking that gave birth to quantum mechanics in the first place. Let us go back for a second to Niels Bohr, a founding father of quantum mechanics. He imagined things being in multiple locations at once and communicating with each other across time and space. This is now proven scientifically. But first, it had to be imagined. Apply that sort of thinking, inject that sort of imagination into our economic world. Consensus is that equity markets will go on rising and interest rates will stay near zero because inflation will never come back. So central banks will be able to finance governments, which in turn will go on spending ad infinitum, so resolving the issues of the scarring of COVID upon the real economy. And of course, vaccines create herd immunity against COVID in 6 months. So optimism abounds and demand booms, and financial markets in the main go on rejoicing. What this paper, Truth to Tell, does is to replace such seamless, coherent consensus with some creative quantum incoherence. We deal with policy, inflation, China, and COVID. In a sense, this is an alternative portfolio theory that expresses a quantum fuzzy reality as a proportion of assets, because it just might happen.